Hello again. When I learned that the National Theatre in London had cast a black man and woman in the leading roles for their new production of Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest, I cannot claim to have been surprised. Indeed, it would have been more surprising had it been announced that the cast of this Victorian comedy of manners was to be entirely white. Is this then the dream come true for racial equality in Britain? That is to say, colour-blind casting made completely on merit, regardless of ethnicity or skin colour? Of course not. We are not at all taken aback to see that the two leading roles have been given to black people, but we would most of us have been astonished had the part of Lady Brackley been given to a Hindu, Sikh or woman of Chinese heritage. Now that would have been a remarkable event indeed. The truth is, casting black people in the main roles is just the way that things are done these days on the stage in this country. Whether it is a production of The Wizard of Oz, a dramatisation of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, or, as in this case, a much-loved play by Oscar Wilde, it is practically a racing certainty that somebody of African or Caribbean heritage will be given the biggest part. That this is so is indisputably true. Why it should be so is another matter, though. Here are a few possible explanations. The one favoured by left-wing people is that previously there was a lot of racism in the theatrical world, which prevented black people from getting on. Now that this is being removed and dismantled, they naturally rise to the top and take all the best parts. This does not explain, of course, why the same has not happened to actors of Asian origin. It only seems to be a thing for black actors, which is curious. The second possible explanation is that most people involved with the theatre tend to be left-wing types, and that they think by giving the best roles to black people they are making themselves look very right on and with it. They recognise their own white privilege and are atoning for it by making sure that black people rise. They do this regardless of talent or acting ability, simply because of the skin colour of those auditioning for the roles. This seems to me likely, at least, to be part of the explanation. It would also go some way towards explaining why it is black people and not Asians who benefit from this. Since the death of George Floyd and the prominence of the Black Lives Matter movement, it is black people who have been thrust to the forefront of our consciousness as the primary victims of racism, rather than Indians and Chinese. Naturally, then, it is black people who must now be given a helping hand. The least attractive hypothesis to account for what we are seeing is also perhaps the most likely to be true, in combination with the possibility which I have just outlined. This is that theatres and companies producing films see black people as novelty items, which they can brandish as a way of gaining publicity, and also, of course, burnishing their credentials as being anti-racist. Producing The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe with all the Pevensey children being black was a great instance of this. The black children were simply used like pawns to create an effect. In the same way, ensuring that the main roles in The Importance of Being Earnest are given to black people is a way of attracting attention. It is really no more than a form of advertising. On the one hand, it is a way of saying, look at us, we are so progressive and up to date. But there is a meta message, which is, hey, look how weird this is, a black woman playing the part of a member of England's aristocracy in the 19th century. Using people for this end is, of course, reprehensible, but I'm pretty sure that it is at least part of what is going on. One thing we can say with perfect assurance is that we are going to be seeing a lot more of this in the future. Another thing we can be sure of is that we will not be seeing Hindus and Sikhs being given these prominent roles anytime soon.